All right, listen, friend, we are all guilty of what I'm about to talk about using AI to create your podcast episode titles. And it is so glaringly obvious that they are AI generated. So let's talk about it because I don't want you to be one of those podcasters who somebody lands on your show and it's like all of these episode titles that are just super AI generated and not much personality, not great for your searchability. I get a lot of questions about this, right? A lot of people come and be like, how do I use AI to name my episodes? Because of course there's so much benefit in it, right? But without making it super obvious that AI did the work for me. I mean, let's be real. Like AI is so incredible. I'm so grateful for it for so many things. And I'm so grateful that it can help us come up with these episode titles or kind of like spur inspiration for our episode titles without us sitting down and spending so much time. Like I've been in the podcasting industry for a long time, far before AI was ever on the scene. And I spent a lot of time coming up and sitting down and thinking through what is the right episode title for this. So being able to just put in your transcript and be like, all right, let's look through what are the main keywords, give me some ideas, and have that as a foundation to start with is so great. But sometimes the results are definitely less than ideal. You know the titles I'm talking about, right? Things like From Stuck to Unstoppable, How to Break Through Barriers, or Discover Your True Potential, The Path to Success. Like you've probably seen those, right? And there's always, always a colon. Am I right? Like always a colon. I have to giggle because I think back to the copywriter for Amy Porterfield. Emery was her name. And when AI first started and she would be using it to generate things, she would just always laugh and be like, oh my goodness, ChatGPT sure does love a colon. And it still does to this day. So they're cutesy, they're over polished, but they're almost never quite spot on right away. So now, like I said, I just want to be clear. Don't get me wrong. I love using AI to help ideate. It can save us so much time, but there's a big difference between a title that sounds generic and one that's clear, searchable, and truly going to get our ideal listeners to click. So that's what we're going to get into today. I'm so excited. Also, excitement. If you have not heard, I just dropped my brand new digital product, which I am so excited about. It's called the Podcast Growth Toolkit. It has been on my heart for a while, and now it can be in your hands. So head to podcastmarketinghub.com/toolkit if you want to grab that. And inside of it, it is literally the podcast marketing growth toolkit that you need. It includes everything from helping you really hone in on your searchability and doing actual small but powerful tweaks to enhance your searchability. I go into how to create bundles and a little bundle blueprint to getting people from listenership all the way over to your email provider, which is what we want. I talk about how to create emails that are actually open worthy. Like I actually go into 3 styles of emails that are working so well right now for podcasters to not only get people to listen to the show, but also to really nurture them. And lastly, I go into how to create SEO rich blog style show notes. All right. So if you want that and more, by the way, I don't want to forget because I'm celebrating this because I just launched it. You also get 2 amazing bonuses during the launch period. And so those are an AI repurposing toolkit and also a training on how to project manage your podcast and the flow for everything from ideation to go live like a pro. I use this with all my clients. It's been years of, mastery. So you get that as a bonus. So again, head to podcastmarketinghub.com/toolkit and you can snag that plus all the bonuses. All right. So let's dive in. So why do your titles matter so damn much? Well, your episode title is not only the very first impression that listeners get, but it also impacts whether your show is found on Apple or Spotify, right? In organic search. It also is going to attract and stop somebody from scrolling, right? We want to make sure it does that. It also is going to make a difference if your episode gets shared, it gets referred back to later, all of those things. Like it is so, so important that we get these right. So if we're going to put effort into anything, let's make sure that this is one of those spots that we're really putting effort into. All right. So step 1 of doing this the right way is you have to have a podcast keyword or phrase bank. So before you even open up ChatGPT or any other AI tool, you need your own keyword key phrase bank for your podcast. And this is essentially an ongoing document where you do a little bit of research and you keep track of what keywords and key phrases are most popular for your audience, like the exact words your audience is using and searching. It can be things like that are related to their objections, their goals, their pain points. It can be phrases that they are typing into Google, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Pinterest, like any of those really juicy search platforms. Honestly, I want you to think of it as your personalized podcast SEO library. Because if you really take the time to put this together and nail these keywords and key phrases on the head and have this really robust bank of words that you know your ideal listener is searching, you are going to be able to use it in so many ways. In your podcast titles, in your podcast description. It will also inspire episode topics. And, sometimes I even have clients say, when I put together my keyword key phrase bank, all of a sudden I had some new ideas for offers that my audience needed. So it's really important to sit down, take the time, start to get into the head of your ideal listener, ideal customer, and say, what words are they actually searching? Like if somebody comes into Spotify or Apple and they go to the search bar and they're just like looking to hear a podcast on a specific topic, what are those words that they are inputting? Another great way to figure this out is that if you're in DMs with your ideal listener or customer, or maybe you're running like a free Facebook group, or maybe you have a paid community, and I want you to read through those comments and read through the words that they're using and pay attention to the language that they are actually using and put those words on your list, right, in your bank. This one action alone will make every AI generated title instantly more relevant to you, your audience, all that good stuff. So the next step that we have to talk about is making sure that you're using the right prompt. So now that you've got your keyword bank, it's time to step in and use AI, right? But your results really depend on your instructions. So I'm not actually going to give you a specific prompt. I might in my newsletter. So if you're not on my newsletter, head over there. You can go to podcastmarketinghub.com/subscribe. But what I recommend doing is make sure you obviously upload your transcript. Second, upload your keyword phrase bank, right? There it is. You need to tell AI the main topic or themes of that episode. Of course, it'll pull it out and things like that. But I want you to put those in because, again, your words that you're using as a human that you know your audience is going to resonate with, put those in there. I always recommend asking for anywhere from 5 to 8 episode titles that are clear, not clever, searchable, and keyword rich. Those are all really important. We want to make sure AI understands I don't want something clever. I want it to be clear. I want it to be searchable. I want it to be keyword rich. And then also one last little thing is I always ask AI to place the most searchable keywords near the beginning of the title. Okay. So that's key because those, like front words are actually going to be the ones that result best in the search platforms. So, okay. And then here's one more thing. Remind AI that you want titles to sound natural, human, again, clickable, right? Clickable. So also, if you don't want a colon, say, I don't want any colons. Now, here's the funny thing is it'll probably sneak one in there because it can't resist. If you've done this before, you can tell it over and over and over a few times to do something. And for some reason, it just ignores you. But including these things in your prompt will at least give you a really strong starting point. All right. So here's where you really have to dive in is once you get those suggestions back, I recommend picking your top 3 favorite. Okay. From there, I want you to actually take the time to tweak them. See if those keywords, those key phrases are at the very beginning of the episode title, or can you move them there? And then ask yourself, does this clearly show what the episode is about? Bonus points, does it clearly explain who it's for? Now, I want to make a note that who it's for part doesn't always fit into the title, right? So if you can include it, for instance, I have a client who really serves women who are like 35 plus. So she could potentially talk about hormones. So, we all have hormones. So if she can include hormones in the title as well as women over 35 or 35 plus, like those types of things, that would be an ideal title because A, we're talking about the topic, B, we're talking about who it's for, but that's not always the case, right? Because that does get a little wordy. So first things first, does this show what the episode is about? And if I have room, if it makes sense, can I show who it's for? Okay, next, let's talk about whether you should include guest names or not. So this one actually comes up all the time. I have a lot of students ask, should I include, my guest name in the title? Here's my rule of thumb, take it or leave it, do what's best for you, right? Is that if your guest has a following that overlaps with your ideal listener, which I'm guessing most of your guests will, right? But if they have like a decent sized following, include their name. So you want to think about it this way. If their name is kind of searchable, right? People are actually going to go into the platforms and search that specific person, then I would include it. It doesn't always mean that they're huge or massive, but do they have a really loyal following who might come in, search their name, and then you want to show up in those search results, right? On the flip side, if they don't have much of a following, sometimes we have maybe a doctor who doesn't really have a following, but they're very knowledgeable on a specific topic. You could probably skip their name and instead focus on the topic that they are, clearly so knowledgeable on, because nobody is probably going to search their name. One, and two, it's not going to differentiate if somebody listens to that episode or not. Like an unknown name is not going to be the driving force for somebody to click on the episode. The actual topic of the episode will. All right. So those are some things to keep in mind when you're thinking about, should I include the name or not? Because if you can get away with not including the name, it shortens the title, which can be nice. Okay. Lastly, one thing I wanted to touch on is I often get people will say, should I go back to previous episodes? They listen to this episode or they listen to my teaching on this and they think, oh my goodness, I have so many good episodes with terrible episode titles. It's okay. So they wonder, should they go back and just revamp all the names? Now, depending on how many episodes you have, this can be a big project, a big undertaking. Also, some platforms, depending on which platforms you use, if you do edit an episode title from 2022 and you click edit and then save, it will actually bump it up to be a published episode today, if that makes sense. Some don't. I'm not going to give you a full list. I know Captivate allows you to edit episodes without it bumping it to the top. I can't remember the other ones. So that's something to keep in mind, right? You don't want to all of a sudden have a bunch of old episodes popping up amongst your new ones. I mean, there could be ways to do that, right? If you want to repurpose it or something, there could be a strategy there. But generally, make sure that doesn't happen. And if it doesn't, if you're on a platform that allows it, then what I recommend is pull all of your metrics, and you maybe don't even want to start with the top performing episodes because they're performing okay. Maybe you go back to I don't know, starting at the 50th episode and lower and start tweaking those. Maybe you do 5 a week or something like that. And you just make a system where you go back and you edit a few at a time. And again, you're not editing necessarily those ones that actually performed well or those really top episodes historically. Probably want to play around with the ones that maybe didn't perform well, but the content was so good and the name just did not, make it with the content. Okay, so here's a quick recap. One, I want you to build out your keyword and key phrase bank. If this is something you need help with, be sure to grab that podcast growth toolkit that is brand new because it's going to walk you through how to do that. Step 2, I want you to use specific prompts or be including things in your AI prompt to help it give you back decent episode titles. Step 3, once you get those episode titles, do not just go and run with them. Actually refine, rearrange for clarity, searchability. From a human standpoint what it needs to look like and say. So make sure to take the time to really rearrange them and find your title that way. And then step 4, decide strategically whether you are going to include the guest names if you have guest names or not. So when you do this consistently, your titles will go from very AI sounding to very clear, clickable, and most importantly, discoverable. And that's really what we want. All right, my friends. So again, I just launched my podcast growth toolkit, which is very exciting. Inside of it, you are going to get a ton of help with the searchability key. You hear me talk about searchability, SEO. I mean, my clients will do these things and then say, oh my gosh, I saw a spike in my metrics. How exciting. I saw new followers, all of this stuff. It's very exciting. I'm also going to walk you through something that I love to use. It's a bundle, creating these bundles to really generate not only new leads for your email list, for your offers, but also to repurpose old content because we have so much old content as a podcaster. So this is a great way. It also dives deep into the actual emails that are getting opened this day and age. What emails you get 3 different examples that you can use and then move forward with so that you can have these really strong emails to be having as a touch point and a nurture piece for your audience every week or every month, whatever you choose to do. And lastly, I dive into how to create SEO rich blog style show notes to help your content rank. When people are searching it, when AI is scouring the internet for it, you show up. So that's what we want. And of course, if you sign up when I just am launching it, yay, you also get 2 bonuses. One is the AI repurposing toolkit. And the second one is a podcast project management training done by me. And I'm walking you through all of the juicy details that you need to get into a really strong flow when it comes to pumping out your podcast episodes. All right, that is it for today. It's a quick hit episode, but I'd love to hear what you think, right? So the next time you generate titles with AI, I want you to try this process and strategically think about what we talked about today. And then I want you to DM me. Send me like the before and after version of what you were thinking about naming it, what you did, or if you revamp an old one, I'd love to check it out. So all of that is good stuff. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you for every review, every rating. Thank you for sharing it with other podcasters. I know we're a small community, but I hope that I can make a difference and give you the insight and the knowledge that you need so that you can really focus on doing the things that you love, which is sharing these episodes with the world, getting that content out, and then I can support you with the rest. So again, thank you for being here. I will see you next week.